Welcome back to another episode of ROC Boys football. The NFL offseason continues to absolutely be hammer drunk, and we're trying to knock out all these mock drafts, put our big board together, and it just keeps changing up. Obviously, today some massive news coming out. Tyreek Hill is going over to the Miami Dolphins in exchange for a bunch of picks, one being that first-round pick at 29, that second-round pick at 50, as well as a fourth-round pick. So the Chiefs become loaded with picks, and the Dolphins go get one of the best playmakers in the entire football league. What we're going to do right now is take a look at – we're going to go back here. We're going to X out of this mock draft that I was playing around with, and we're going to take a look at a Kansas City 7-round NFL mock draft. They all of a sudden, they need to do some roster building. What this trade tells me is that they are looking at the bigger picture. You are always going to have a chance to win the Super Bowl with Pat Mahomes at the helm of that offense. And Tyreek Hill is going to take a lot of money that they probably don't have with the guys they've signed. And so they're looking to maybe get a rookie wide receiver with one of these picks. Let's get into the NFL draft. The Dolphins, they're just trying to figure out, is Tua the guy? They're going to give him all the weapons. You got Teron Armstead, Jalen Waddle, Tyreek Hill now. There's no excuse for Tua not to bring it and not for them not to make the playoffs this year. I know it's a loaded AFC East, but this team is plenty talented, and Tua needs to make it happen this year. So Chiefs at 29. There's a lot of ways you could go with this. I really think wide receiver needs to be in discussion. Travis Kelce's awesome, but you also have Juju Smith as your wide receiver one. I don't think that's going to cut it. And you want a guy that's just a little bit more structured. The Chiefs, they thrive off that backyard football mentality. That's kind of what Tyreek Hill thrives off. That's what Pat Mahomes thrives off of. Get a guy who can run really crisp routes, create separation. I think Chris Olave would be like a dream draft for Kansas City. However, as the draft process continues, I don't really see him falling to 29. Don't see the Chiefs necessarily trading up either. Wide receivers on the board right now. I think Jahan Dotson is my favorite one. I still have a first-round grade on this dude. If you look at his film from Penn State, he can make it happen on the whole route tree. He can do. He create separation off of the line of scrimmage. He's got phenomenal footwork, phenomenal body control. He's got great hands. He has burners to just kind of blow the top off the defense. You can do a lot with this guy. I think he's going to come in. He could certainly be wide receiver one for this team. Obviously, Travis Kelce is going to be the pass catcher number one. But I think Jahan Dotson gives the Chiefs a lot of a structure to that offense that they kind of lack. You look at the other wide receivers, it's kind of just speedsters. You want to get their ball in their hands. There's not many guys that are going to run great routes outside of Travis Kelce. I think Jahan Dotson gives you a little bit of that. I think another thing they want to look at, and I think this would just be an absolute dynamite pick for them, is Dax Hill from Michigan. He's going to play safety at the next level, but he played that nickel cornerback spot for Michigan, which he certainly can do. And I think that just adds to his game as a prospect at that safety position. He's great in man coverage. He has great ball skills. He kind of checks all the boxes for what you're looking for as a safety. He didn't test quite as well as I might have thought he would, but I don't really have a question about his play speed. I think I have a round one grade on him. My favorite safety in the draft outside of Kyle Hamilton. PFF has him listed as a cornerback. They're just not doing their research. He's not going to play cornerback at the next level. I think Dax Hill is a dynamite pick for the Kansas City Chiefs. Again, you're looking for that Chris Olave. I think he is, as a Bills fan, I am very scared that happening because I think he'd be awesome in that offense. But I think that'd be just a phenomenal pick. So we got Jahan Dotson. We got that safety. I think another position that you might want to look at is cornerback. And if we missed out on Roger McCreary, where did he go? That's a tough one. I think Roger McCreary is a great guy to look at. He went 45 to the Ravens. That makes me want to just go next best player available here. Let's take a look. There's still a very, very fruitful draft class. There's a lot of good edge rushers at this point in the draft. I think you could look there. I think I like what Nick Bolton showed, so I don't necessarily think you need to reach on a linebacker here. Do we have any other wide receivers that we're really liking right now? Not really. Christian Watson's a guy that I think would be exciting, and he adds to that speed and playmaking ability that the Chiefs have. But I'm not necessarily going to reach on him up there. Let's take a look at the interior defensive line, excuse me. I like Logan Hall's game. I think he's a very versatile guy who can do a lot. I think Perrion Winfrey's a pick. Perrion Winfrey, I have extremely high on my draft board. He's a guy that you pair him up with Chris Jones, and that's going to be just an absolute handful for defenses to block. You immediately have one of the best pass rushing interior defensive linemen in the draft. Perrion Winfrey's a guy that, yes, he plays a little bit high, struggles in the run game a little bit. He's got great length. He's got great power in his hands, and he's just a better athlete than the interior offensive lineman he goes up against. You saw that come to light in the Senior Bowl. If you're not sold on Perrion Winfrey, go check him out in the Senior Bowl. He's just making interior offensive linemen look absolutely silly. I think he's a great look at that spot. We're looking at wide receiver. Here are needs. Are there any other edge guys? This is kind of the end of like the high-end edge guys. I think Drake Jackson. Obviously, I'm not a huge fan of Drake Jackson. He's a guy that is dripping with talent, but he just hasn't really showed it on the field. Now, that being said, at the end of the second round, I think he could be a gem because this guy has the ability to be an all-pro. Like I still like him as a prospect. He's just really raw. And so guys talking about taking Drake Jackson in the first round, that was a little crazy just because the film doesn't show that. And he's supposed to be a top 10 pick coming into the year and then just continue to just not really develop. Kingsley and Enagbare is a guy that also has been tossed around the first round. Two guys that they have everything you look for. They're just besides the film. The film hasn't been great. I think at this point, it's okay to take a shot on a guy like Drake Jackson. Just because you're at 62 overall, end of the second round, go get a guy who could be a gem. Drake Jackson's certainly that kind of guy. I think it's worth taking a shot at him. He's been on my radar since he was a true freshman, 260 pounds, yoked up, and he did a back handspring. It's like not many guys move like that at that size. At some point, you got to go take a shot at him. I think that's the time to take a shot at him. I think Kingsley and Enagbare also could be a good guy to get. He doesn't have the upside that I think a Drake Jackson does, and that's kind of why we're passing on him. Pick 94. You guys know I'm a huge fan of Zach Tom. He can play anywhere on the offensive line. If they didn't have Clyde Edwards, I think James Cook would be also a very interesting option. Isaiah Likely. I mean, there are some really good prospects here still on the board. Mijai Sanders just had a crazy bad pro day. I think Tyreek Woolen's the pick here. We kind of haven't picked cornerback. We wanted Roger McCreary in the second round. Tyreek Woolen's a guy that the length is crazy. He's got disgusting speed. The only problem, he's 6'3", he's physical. Like, there's a lot to like about his game. What you don't like is just there's a lot of question marks. He hasn't played the position for that long. But he was playing Madden to learn how to play cornerback, which is just absolutely bonkers to me. He's a guy dripping with talent, dripping with potential. I think the Chiefs again, you're at round 3. You're not necessarily getting guys who are going to be studs now. Tyreek Woolen's a guy that you can get into the program and really build on. I like him as a prospect a lot. Let's take a look at what we got going on with the wide receivers. I think Kyle Phillips will give you a decent amount of boost from the interior. Khalil Shakir is just a playmaker. Highlight reel is just extremely fun to watch. Let's take a look at best available, but I really do like Khalil Shakir's game a lot. Zach Tom, obviously you guys know I'm a huge fan of Zach Tom. Cordell Flatt's a guy. He is 6'1", 165 pounds. That is just a little bit too small for me. Jalen Wademeyer ran a 5-second 40-yard dash. That is concerningly slow. A guy that I didn't like. I don't like a lot of what his game is besides him just being big. Sam Williams. I like Sam Williams here a lot, to be honest with you. His film, like you talk about a guy who has great film, that's Sam Williams. Sam Williams absolutely got it done at the SEC level. Are there any good linebackers here? I know you got Nick Bolton, but there are sometimes a few linebackers you can find, like Terrell Bernard, Malcolm Rodriguez, both guys that Terrell Bernard, a little undersized, but he's just a playmaker. He flies around the football field. I like a lot of his game. Let's see here. Let's go back to the big board. Stick to the best available. And Khalil Shakir, man, he is jumping out. He would be a guy I would love to see in that offense. I'm going to take a look at the whole wide receivers real quick. Make sure I'm not forgetting anybody I really like. Yeah, I'm good with Khalil Shakir. He's a walking highlight reel. Like some of the stuff you see him do is just absolutely incredible. Again, another 4th-round pick that we're getting from Miami. So you're just getting a ton of guys, a ton of draft picks to kind of build upon. I think you got to take Zach Tom here. Zach Tom, a guy that he played as a redshirt freshman. So like very, very undersized, kind of under athleticized as well, going up against some of those ACC teams. But he's just a rock solid guy. He's got great technique. And then they moved him out to tackle his last 2 years simply because he's the best offensive lineman on the team. Genius kid. You guys have heard me talk about it. He's an extremely impressive individual. He's relatively quiet, but he's a high character dude. At left tackle, he was calling out protections for the Wake Forest offense. I mean, that's incredible to do as a left tackle. He's extremely smart. He's extremely technically sound. So he's a very good prospect that not a ton of guys like because there's not a ton of like, highlight reel blocks. Like he's not bulldozing people, but he's a damn good football player. And that has a lot of value, especially when you're talking about late 3rd, early 4th round. 135. Like Malcolm Rodriguez. I like Malcolm Rodriguez a lot. Let's take a look real quick at the rest of that linebacking class. Yeah, I could get behind Malcolm Rodriguez, a guy that he's a little stiff, but he's always around the football. I mean, the dude's a machine, and that's kind of what you want out of a linebacker. A guy that has great instincts. He's a former wrestler, like a state champ wrestler, so he obviously knows how to get people to the ground. A gym rat. I heard stories that he would get done with football practice and go over to the Oklahoma State wrestling room and roll around with the Oklahoma State Cowboy wrestling team, which is one of the best in the country. I don't even know if it's true, but if you're being semi-true, like that's extremely impressive. Wrestling's an absolute grind of a sport. Malcolm Rodriguez is a guy that he's just going to play football for you. Whether it's starting as a linebacker, a 2-deep guy, or just a special teamer. He's a good football player. You want him on the team. Well, it's kind of how it goes. We got a while for our next pick. I think there's some sneaky good edge rushers. I think you can boost up that interior defensive line as well. So we'll take a look at some of those guys. Looking back on the draft, I think we could have addressed that line. I mean, you don't need a punter. You don't punt with Pat Mahomes. Let's take a look at the edge. I like Sam Williams is a guy that I kind of wish we would have gotten just because he's just good. He's just a good football player. Chris Allen, a guy from Bama that I really like. Check the big board again. Any safeties we like here? And then look at the cornerbacks. Click off this. We'll go to cornerbacks. Kalen Barnes, speedster. Andy Reid likes his speed. That could be a guy to keep your eye on. I could get behind the Kalen Barnes pick. He's the fastest guy at the combine. Vinny Gray is another guy that he's athletically not the best, but he's long. He's got pretty smooth hips. Sticks with receivers. His ball skills just stink. His ball skills stink out loud. Yeah, let's take a flyer on Kalen Barnes. That speed, like you're gonna be able to be a decent football player when you're that fast. Go take Kalen Barnes, a guy who might be rising up a lot of boards. Man, they want us to take a punter, but like you don't punt if you're the Kansas City Chiefs. You don't need one. EJ Perry. EJ Perry is gonna be a very good backup quarterback. Let's check the running back room. This is kind of the area where you might just want to take a fly on the running back. Clyde Edwards-Helaire hasn't been great. Any guy that you might just chastise going back to school. Eric Gray's a guy. Like he's a guy you want to get the ball in his hands in space. Nobody that is really like standing out to me. I think we kind of missed out on that run on some of the more impressive running backs. They don't run downhill with the ball anyways. This is not like a who was the fullback for the Chiefs? Pat Sherman, I think. Sherman? Connor Hayward could kind of bring a little bit of that to you if you wanted. I think Charleston Rambo could be the pick. He's a pro-ready wide receiver. He's long. He runs good routes. He has good hands. He kind of checks all the boxes. He's not a burner. He's not an elite athlete. But I think, like, when you're looking at just taking a solid wide receiver, I think Charleston Rambo could certainly be the pick there. Again, I want to see, like, they drafted Clyde Edwards-Helaire because of his ability to catch out of the backfield. He's been banged up. I don't think he has the juice that a lot of people thought he might have had. Is there any other running backs that, like, maybe have that juice a little bit more? Not really. Eric Gray is the guy that I would say the most. Like, Eric Gray's got some juice to him. Yeah, we'll take a flyer on Eric Gray. He's a little undersized. But again, Clyde Edwards-Helaire, he's kind of struggled with staying on the field. I think he could certainly take a flyer on him. And let's see if we can just get like a sneaky edge guy late who's just a good athlete. Kyron Johnson, undersized dude. He's only 230, I think, 235. So is not like just worry about that size a little bit. And then you got Alex Wright, who's 6'7", I believe. 6'7", 270. So there's a couple of, like, those guys are kind of what I'm talking about when you're looking at, like, Christopher Allen. He's a guy that just got hurt, and he hurt his draft stock. You can't – I'm gonna take Chris Allen. You can't go wrong with the Bama guys. Like, they always work out in the league. Nick Saban's got just a well-oiled machine there down in Tuscaloosa. See what PFF gives us on the draft. They're obviously going to tell me I'm stupid. Probably am stupid. Jahan Dotson, a B-. I'm a little higher on Jahan Dotson than most. Dax Hill, I think, is a great fit. Perrion Winfrey, they're tripping about, dude. I don't get the hate about Perrion Winfrey. It's because he doesn't grade well in the rush game. He's like the best interior pass rusher in the class. Like, that's what matters. What matters when you're playing defense is being able to get after the passer. Tyreek Woolen, a guy that just dripping with athleticism. Zach Tom, C+, they don't like it. Malcolm Rodriguez, they're never going to give me an A. I get a B+ for the draft. Honestly, one of the higher grades that I've gotten if I ever cared about what PFF graded my drafts. Once again, Chiefs, look at all these draft picks. They have 4 picks inside the top 65, 3 picks in the top 50. It's time to do some work here. Got Pat Mahomes. Go build around him, get a good defense, get some weapons that Pat Mahomes can use because he obviously lost his biggest one. Once again, appreciate you guys rocking with the ROC Boys as usual. The support, absolutely awesome. I hope you guys are enjoying the content. We'll be back soon with some more NFL draft content with a huge discussion about Trayvon Walker, so stay tuned for that. Till then, talk to y'all later. Peace.